Hi everyone, Michael from Bullion Now, bullionnow.com.au, coming from the very wintry, I suppose you'd say, very wintry Berlin. Berlin certainly turned on the cold weather when I was coming out before to do this video. I looked on my phone and it's telling me that it's -7 degrees and wind chill makes it feel like it's -14, and it's certainly a little bit chilly out here, certainly a bit chilly to be out in a bit of a t-shirt, but there you go. The troops are currently sleeping in the apartment that we're staying in, and I don't want to really disturb anyone inside, so we'll make this a slightly abbreviated update. So this is starting to become regular. I think it's almost at a point now where I don't need to say that it's starting to become regular, because I think we're regular now. But this is all a bit of a Sunday update. I'm not guaranteeing we'll do it long term, but we're certainly doing it now with how dynamic Bullion Now, the industry and everything around it is currently functioning by the look of it. So, starting off with the shop. Actually, not that much of an update there. The shop's flat out. The phones are flat out. The emails are flat out. We've brought on some new staff there to try and help and try and cope. We're also introducing a new system this week, which you'll actually see a video come out probably later tonight or early tomorrow morning. We're doing an appointment system where you can actually book for yourself online, and we're still doing the QR code system, but we're trimming it right down, and we're only going to accept a certain number of people QR coding in any one day, because it's just stretching out. I know, and I mentioned it in the video. The guys on Saturday, they start work well before 9 o'clock. They're meant to finish work at 1 o'clock in the afternoon, and I think they finished with their last customer at about 9:30 on Saturday night. So we're going to have to do something about that. So you'll see a video come out very soon on that as well, and the links for booking will be available either on that video or on our website as of Monday morning. So yeah, look, we're bringing in more staff. As I said, we've had some new staff start this week. We've got more starting in the next week or two as they finish up where they are and transfer over to Bullion Now, and we make more offers and things like that. So certainly it doesn't happen overnight, but it does happen. It takes a little while for that all to kick in. Supplies are low currently. In some areas, you'll notice our website is looking a little lean at the moment. Anything that we do manage to get up on the web seems to be cleared out fairly quickly. And I mean, that's good. That means people are getting stock. But obviously, it's a little frustrating sitting here in Berlin waiting for the flight home and not able to actually get in. And I know Adam's a bit frustrated. I'm a bit frustrated that we can't get stuff listed up there. But more on supplies in a moment. Let me finish up with the shop first. There have been more kilo bars from the Perth Mint arrive, which is really good to see. They're coming in by the multiple pallet load now. And we're clearing some of that backlog, not as quickly as we'd like, but we are still getting there. So if you've been waiting on Perth Mint kilos or those Perth Mint kangaroos, stand by. You should be getting an email very, very soon to say that they're ready for pickup. Yeah, all the guys are working a lot of overtime. We've had pick teams in on the weekend and in the evenings, things we try and avoid. So they've been in, and obviously the guys in the shop and on the phones and emails are working. I know Sean's been working over the weekend. I've seen him answering emails. I've been answering them myself. Other people are chipping in where they can. The whole team is working far more hours than they should be. So while it's good to see as a boss and wanting to promote and get out there and provide that excellent customer service, we're also very, very conscious that we're burning out our team, and their families are suffering from it as well. So, like I said, and I hinted at earlier, you're going to see some changes coming through. Don't stress, we're not shutting down sales. I know, and I guess speaking into the wider industry, I've been notified by a number of our compatriots. I don't really consider them competitors, and I didn't mean that derogatorily. I was more meaning it's a fairly close-knit community, the bullion community, and particularly the bullion dealers. We all tend to talk to each other. So I know several of them have made the decision to no more sales for now. That's their call. It's not something we want to do. We want to keep maintaining that service to the Bullion Now family where we can, and we're going to continue doing that. So, but very, very interesting days with that. Can't go very far these days without talking about that incredible price drop on Friday night Australian time, leading through, well, I suppose it was more Saturday Australian time, but certainly Friday afternoon, evening here in Europe and then into the States. The largest drop, I haven't looked at stats, but it'd have to be close to the largest drop ever on record for bullion, for precious metals. There's a lot of head scratching. As I said, it's caused a lot of people around the world, a lot of bullion dealers, to shut down their trading sites and not take further orders. That can be a mixture of stock supplies, just general volatility. They can't work out where the volatility is going, and a lack of hedging. When you get the reason we hedge as a company, and a lot of the industry does hedge. We're not Robinson Crusoe in this, but the reason you hedge, it does limit your upside gains because you don't get them. You've locked your price in here as you're buying and selling, but it limits the impact of these drops drastically. So that's one of the reasons we do it. But yeah, so we're seeing that as a fallout from that one. A lot of head scratching as to why. A lot of people have theories, some of them fairly simple, some of them fairly grandiose. And I don't think anyone really knows, if we're completely honest. I've jotted down a few things that are kind of in my kind of sphere or my kind of focus. Certainly the removal of the floor on the critical minerals hasn't helped the situation, particularly as silver is now considered one of those. The new Reserve Governor, that seems to be causing a lot of the stir. I'm not kind of sure why he doesn't step in for a while. I know the explanations they're giving, but I'm not convinced either way. We're certainly seeing a lot of profit taking, even locally. In the shop, we've seen a number of people come in, although that has dried up towards the end of the week. We've seen a lot of people coming in saying, look, I've held my precious metals. My glasses are getting frozen in the ice there. I've held my precious metals for 5 years, 6 years, 7 years, whatever it is, sometimes well longer than that. It's time to take a bit of money off the table, and you certainly can't blame people for doing that. So that's part of it. That's happening on a local scale, but it's also happening on a very large scale. There's a lot of people that are just taking a bit of profit out of the industry out of precious metals. Talking to some of the larger mints, they've got, what you and I would consider to be fairly large whales going, we want to pull out X millions of dollars to take some of our profits. And some of them are redirecting it into the likes of platinum and things like that, but some of them are pulling them out altogether. And you can't blame them for that over time. As always happens with these things, it becomes a bit of a snowball effect, no pun intended, sitting here in the snow. So you are absolutely seeing a fall. It might be a small fall to start off with. That starts triggering stop losses, which creates more selling into the market, which triggers more price falls, which creates more stop losses, and so on and so forth. And you get into this feedback loop. And we absolutely saw that happening later in the trading session, where you could see it tripping through certain levels. And as it tripped through, the selling would increase because those stop losses were being tripped, and then, it'd kind of slow down a bit, and then it'd hit another level. And if it broke through it, then, automatically you'd see all these increase in selling as these stop losses were tripped on the way down. So there was a lot of that. So the pause over the weekend will do people good. It'll help them take a deep breath and reassess. That does not mean we won't see more selling into next week. Particularly Monday, Tuesday next week are going to be important. Particularly, and it's a bit of a penalty on us Australians because our market opens early. Really, you're looking for indications coming out of China, out of Europe, and out of the States, which don't open till later on in the day for us. So we're going to be a little bit of a wait and see scenario, but certainly we may see it continue further down. I suspect you may see that as an initial reaction, but I think that will stabilise fairly quickly. Whether we see it bounce back, and if it does bounce back, I'd be incredibly suspicious that we're not looking at a dead cat bounce. Which is exactly what it sounds like. Something falls quite heavily, comes up a little bit as there's a bit of a relief rally, and then drops out from under it again. So if we do see that sudden uptick on Monday, that would actually concern me far more than if it fell a bit further. So just be aware of that. Or obviously the third alternative is it just trickles around here, which also I think would be a very healthy sign for the industry. Silver particularly, but the whole precious metal market has run really, really hard over the last, well, you pick a time frame, 6 weeks, 8 weeks, 6 months. So this pullback, while dramatic and painful, is not unexpected and is probably a healthy step to us building again a more solid footing and moving forward. We saw a similar thing happen kind of October, November last year, where it pulled back quite sharply, and we've seen what's grown out of that. Precious metals market are traditionally known for their stability, not their, particularly gold, not their volatility. Although silver is obviously far more volatile than gold is. So to see that pause, to see that break is actually quite healthy. Don't be frightened of it. I know a lot of people are freaking out a bit. Don't be frightened of it, but certainly be aware of it and keep an eye on what's happening. And don't go making snap reactions. Don't go listening to people, myself included. Do some of your own research, come to your own conclusions. But don't race out and go, such and such says this, so I'm racing out and doing that. No, take a deep breath, look at the market, both those supporting your opinion and those that are challenging your opinion, and actually sit back and assess and go, actually, that's a valid point, or no, that's not a valid point. That's why I'm locking in here, or vice versa. So just be really careful with what's going on in such a volatile market. If it's any consolation, I've been hanging around with some of the biggest dealers in the world this week, and they haven't got a clue what's going on either. So it's interesting to see the various reactions. Berlin has been, we absolutely couldn't afford the time to come over here, but every moment that I was over here was emphasising how important it was that we came over. We have had a lot of really good conversations. We've found a lot of very good contacts, new contacts in the industry. We have learnt a lot, but probably most importantly for the Australian market, we've secured a lot of new suppliers. And some of them are purely fun, numismatic type stuff, but some of them are serious quantities of silver, both in bar form and other forms. So I'm not talking scrap or anything along those sort of lines, but certainly metal that can be brought back into Australia and passed on to the Bullion Now family, but improve our supply chains so that when we go through times like we are going through at the moment and have been for a while, that we've got multiple strings to pull, we've got multiple funnels flowing into the country for supply. So it's been, we're wrapping it up now. We're pretty much finished. We're off on a plane very early tomorrow, and it has been quite successful. And some of it you'll see fairly immediately. We placed orders on the spot as we're sitting in meetings. Absolutely, we'll take X amount of tons of that if you can ship it straight away. And the shipments are already starting to leave Europe to come down to Australia. We are securing more, and there's some coming out of the States as well. So some of them will take a while, but some of them should be almost an immediate, as immediate as you get when you live on the other side of the world, but it'll be almost immediate injection into the lifeblood of the bullion industry into Australia, which would be really, really good. I'm going to upset a few people here, and I'm still not convinced I'm going to. No, I'm going to upset a few people here because the inside running, the inside rumour, the inside theory at the moment is that there is a massive shortage of silver around the world. And having that discussion with some of the biggest refineries and dealers and wholesalers and mints and all that from pretty much every country there is, it's not as clear cut as that. Certainly, Australia, New Zealand, that southern hemisphere, there is not much metal available for sale, we've seen the likes of Perth Mint come out, and they've been heavily criticised for it by the community, but they've come out and said, look, we've got the silver, it's just not in the form we need it. You've got to give us capacity to actually convert it into the likes of kilo bars or kangaroos that I've been whinging about for quite a while. And that's a fair statement. I know that they are struggling, and I'm not speaking out of school here. They've been fairly open about it, that, they have capacity constraints. And to that, they're doing exactly what Bullion Now is doing. They are looking to employ a lot more people. So if you're living in the Perth area and you're looking for a job, they're certainly looking for people at the moment. But yeah, they're looking at increasing their capacity. Talking to particularly the Americans, to a degree the Europeans, although there does seem to be shortages in Europe, but particularly the Americans, they are super busy. They are facing huge demand, but they also have a backlog in their refineries, so or their processing facilities. Quite a number of them are pushing back against buybacks. They're not actively taking buybacks, or they're offering much lower prices for their buybacks, or they're just flat out refusing buybacks. They know that if they're sending large quantities of stuff that needs to be refined, whether that be because it is, some form of damage or it's not pure or any of those things, they know that it's got a 3-month wait at the refineries before it's going to get processed. And a lot of these guys, while they pay their customers immediately, much like we do, when you send it to the refinery, you don't actually get paid for it until it's refined. So if you've got to pay out immediately but not get a check for what you've just bought for 3 months or more, it really starts to impact on your cash flow abilities. So almost without fail, all the American suppliers that we talked to, whether they were very small or very, very large, they were all saying, look, we've got it, but it's not in a form that we can hand it over in. Like, we can take orders, and we can get to you. And there's stuff. Look, there's absolutely stuff they're providing. It's not like they're saying we can't provide it. But when we back a lot of our unallocated program with the good delivery bars, the 1,000-ounce bars. So when we started saying, well, look, how about 1,000? Oh no, not 1,000-ounce bars. No, we need those because we're processing them through, or we don't have a lot of them because we're refining to cast to those to then manufacture into whatever we need. So there are absolutely, there's challenges coming out, particularly out of the US. Well, there's challenges everywhere, let's be honest. But I came away much less worried about the supply of silver into the industry, whether that's into our pocket, the bullion industry, or whether it's into industry as a whole, people making solar panels and those types of things. There is absolutely, like across the board, there is the attitude of I'm securing it now to hold on to it, but there's still a lot of flow going through the system. So take out of that what you will. I know a lot of people are saying other things. You need to do the research, a little bit like I was saying in regards to your investments. Listen to different people's opinions, but remember their opinions and look at where they're coming from. Look at do they have a bias in the industry? Obviously, I have a bias in the industry. I'm a bullion dealer. So look at where their biases are. Look at what their experience is. Are they talking, there's so many people that tell me this is happening and that's happening. And while some of it's good information, you're always got to be thinking, well, what experience do you have? Where would you get this knowledge from? Why are you saying this? It doesn't make them wrong. It doesn't make them right. It just gives you a platform, a basis to actually assess the information that's feeding into you. As I said, I've been talking to some of the biggest manufacturers, dealers, suppliers, wholesalers in the world. They're giving me their opinion, and I'm taking that with a grain of salt. Other people are giving me other opinions. And again, we're looking at the evidence where we're able to place orders with some, not with others. Others are saying we don't have it. But there are a number out there that are saying, sure, we can supply it. Yeah, we'll ship out, you make payment today. We'll ship it out tomorrow morning. And, if you'd like to place another order for 2 weeks' time, we can have another one out to you, and another week after that, and a week after that. And while I wouldn't say it's hugely plentiful and it's just lying around everywhere, it's certainly not a complete desert out there when it comes to. All right, the cold is actually starting to bite in now, and I'm going to go inside and wake people up and get a jumper on, because this is getting a bit ridiculous out here. So I will see you very, very soon back in Australia. If I bumped into you at the World Money Fair and you came and said hello, and there was a lot of people that did, it was great to meet you, and it was really good fun. I really enjoyed that. I wish I could have got out into the halls more, so I could bump into people. But thank you if you did come up and say hello. We'll be back on deck. Ads and myself will be back midweek, certainly, and back in Australia, I mean, and back in the store. So you'll see our smiling faces running back and forth as per usual. Give the new system a chance. The next stage is actually we start drastically limiting the number of customers we can deal with. So I'm hoping this solves a lot of our problems and takes a lot of heat out of people. And look, at the end of the day, if you really, really hate what's going on, there are other dealers around. We're doing the best we can. If that's not good enough, and I get in some cases that's not good enough, there are a lot of great dealers out there. Even in our building, Gold Stackers has been around for many years. They're a great group of people up there. The likes of Jaggards in Sydney, brilliant company. Great people up there. You have alternatives. If our model doesn't suit you, try another. And it's not that I want to lose your trade. I desperately don't. But I also recognise we can't serve everyone and we can't keep everyone happy. And it's just the way it is. That's it for now. We'll talk again very, very soon. See ya.